Well, we had all of that really heavy snow over Norway, so now it's totally clear with the high pressure, which means it's a good time to look at some high resolution satellite imagery. In this video we're going to do a 3D tour with the Sentinel-2 imagery up the fjord of Norway. And the reason why I want to do this is because with all of this snow there's a really sharp contrast between the valleys and the mountains. In order to do this, you need to access the EO browser online free facility at this address, and then you need to register in order to gain the functions that I'm going to use. What we're going to do is work with Google Earth and EO browser. So we're going to get this image and bring it into Google Earth as a KMZ file. To start with, we need to have a broad view before we go into more detail. So this is going to be our broad view image. So the first thing to do is to save this image as a Google Earth file. Once you're registered and logged in, just go here, select high for the image resolution. I've found that KMZ PNG is the best. That will bring in a Google Earth file, which is the KMZ file, and then download, and then you'll get an error. As far as I can tell, the error is because I'm selecting a high resolution, which usually is okay, but for some reason right now it's not working. I'm going to go for medium. At this point in the video I made a mistake because I downloaded with the logo, and so what you should do is click this in order to disable show logo. You don't want to have the logo. You'll see in the tour later I have the logo draped over the mountains. Now the broad view isn't really going to cut it, so we need to zoom in to get detailed resolution images for each section of our tour. And I'm going to make this tour go all the way up this fjord, the name of which is, well, a bit of it is Sognen Fjord, but anyway. So let's start by going into the outer section and continue on up the fjord, selecting medium, and basically download the KMZs for each section, one at a time. Alright, so now I've downloaded all of the KMZ files, which will then they're going to bring it into Google Earth. We've got one broad view of the whole fjord, and then these high resolution views. This is what you'll end up with once you've downloaded everything. The first one is the broad view, and then all of the rest are all of the ones we individually saved for each of the sections of the fjord. So they're each going to overlay on top of one another. So the first one we bring in is the broad view. So you just double click on it. And there it is. So now we bring in the other views. I don't know whether we can bring in them all at once actually. Maybe we can. Yeah, okay. Just shift select the whole directory and you get them all in. So now we've already got all of our high resolution Sentinel views, so we can look at them in 3 dimensions. What I'm going to do is start from this broad view, and then I'm going to zoom in, and it's going to fly in like a aircraft, I guess, and come into here. And then we're going to go up through the fjord bit by bit until we get to here. How about that? Let's see how we go. Okay, so the way this works is that we need to create place marks and views for each point in the tour, and then do a little bit of trickery. So the first point is this, which is the broad view. I'll go with this view and put the place mark in. First of all, you need to get rid of this stupid name, and you also need to get rid of the place mark. No icon. Click on no icon, and that will be there. No icon. Okay. Okay. So now that is saved up in here in the side. in order to get organized, we should add a folder. I'll call it Fjord Tour, and then this is our place mark. I mean, you've got to be a bit careful so you remember where they are, and that's our first point. So our second point is going to be down here, and I'm going to basically do this a bit carefully, because what happens with the way we're going to do this is that it becomes a bit unstable sometimes. So we don't want to put in too many points, because we're not going to be using the standard default tour. We're going to be using a smooth tour in order to make this work. So this is going to be my second viewpoint, and this viewpoint, then I can do the same thing. Now the icon is gone, so we'll just do OK, and there it is, it's put in. So now I'm going to go with my third viewpoint. I'm going to tilt it down, go for this, at the entrance to the fjord. Now you can see I've got Sentinel hub overlays. That's because of my error. I could have removed that when we downloaded the data. It's come into the image, but whatever, it's not important. So this is our next point. So I'll put in another place mark and go with OK. And now we want to really create our flight image going through. We're just going to do it point by point. Oops. And do the same thing, and I'm just going to throw them in, and they're all coming into the same directory on the left here. And I'll do it at roughly the same interval while kind of touring up through the fjord. You can see you've got another Sentinel logo coming through on that mountain, but it's kind of funny. We'll do a few of these and let's see how it goes. So I'm going to do another one over here. Let's get down into the fjord, and there we go. Delete the name, and again, and now go through to here. We'll gradually turn it around. I think the thing is, you don't want to have really sharp turns, because that kind of screws up what we're going to do next. You can see what I'm doing is just dragging through, producing a new place mark at each new location. And now I'm going to move quite a bit further forward quickly, and that will speed up the flight as we do it. Speeding up quite a lot here, because this is one hell of a long fjord, isn't it? Okay, I think I may have pushed the limits a bit there. Also, the other thing is that because, okay, I think we're at the end. Are we at the end? No, it goes on further. Let's tilt it up for the end and just go with that. Come back up. This last point is probably going to totally screw it up. Let's see. Google Earth has its kind of standard tour, and we're going to do a different type of tour, because this is what happens when you do the standard tour. To go to your initial point, click at the first place mark that we made, and that gives us the broad view. Now, in order to play a tour, you just click on the whole directory and click this thing. And now it begins its rather interesting tour. And I'm going to speed up the video here. So you get the idea. What's going on is it's kind of zooming in and out of each place mark. So we don't really want this. What we want is a smooth, flowing tour, like a plane. In order to do that, we got to do some tricks. The first thing we got to do is save the tour, and let's call it Fjord Tour. And okay, do right click, save tour, then save as type KML, because KML allows us to then edit it in a document. Now we've got our Fjord Tour here, and we want to open it with WordPad or whatever text editor you have. In order to make it a smooth tour, we've just got to cut in this code line, and I'll put it in the video description. And what you do is just copy it in and put it underneath gx::duration 7 gx::duration. And you need to do this for each point. Paste, and it doesn't matter about the highlighting. In order to make it easier with the tabs, I'm not sure whether that's actually needed, but you just copy. So the next one is here, and these are for each of the points of the tour. And this will allow the tour to then become smooth. But beware that this is, whether it's smooth or whether it goes totally nuts, is dependent on things that I don't really understand. But essentially, to reduce your chances of it totally screwing up, you need to make sure the points aren't too far apart and don't have really sharp turns, I think. Or perhaps if they're very close to the ground, that can also be a problem. But anyway, you can see this is relatively easy to do. It's a bit kind of cumbersome and should be a default thing because it is very, very cool when it works. And we're done. So now that we have this document with our new smoothing, you have to save it as, make sure it has .kml written at the end of it, which I've already done. I'll just replace it to prove it. And then once you've done that, then you've got this. It's actually this one, and you just double click it and the tour should start. There you go. You see, that's the screwing up bit, but anyway, it recovers at the end. Kind of. So, in order to make the final video, that was just screen capturing the tour as it really played. But in order to make the final video, you've got to go start with your initial viewpoint by double clicking on the first place mark, and then go to Tools, Movie Maker, and Start Tour. Go to Fjord Tour. Hope it's that one. And you can change the options for the resolution. I'm going to go with 60 frames per second and at maximum. This is going to produce a large file, but for future editing you want to have a kind of like a large file. And hopefully this will work. Let's see. I'm going to call it this. How about that? Yeah, that's good. And then create movie. And while this is happening, I'm going to make myself a tequila sunrise. If it doesn't do anything for the first few percentage, that's because it's holding at the first place mark. But it's still going to do the tour, no worries. I'm not sure whether recording at the same time, screen recording at the same time as recording within Google Earth is going to cause any kind of problems, but we'll find out. I think it is, so I'm going to stop the screen recording and let the Google Earth sort itself out. The Google Earth tour finally finished, and it's now 9:45 p.m. and I think it's taken maybe an hour and a half, maybe longer. The size of the file that's produced at high resolution is pretty large, 2.13 gigabytes. And actually on my computer it doesn't play well, so it's a good idea to downsize it or resave it as something smaller. So really that's all I wanted to show in this video. The final two place marks at the end where it kind of screwed up and went into the ground, you may be able to kind of change the place marks to make them not so jumpy in terms of the location. It should work out. But anyway, there you go. That's how to make a kind of cool tour from recent Sentinel-2 satellite imagery through a snowy Norwegian fjord. I'll leave you with the glorious final rendered tour. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, then you may find other videos on this channel of interest. Hitting the like button and subscribing really helps to support this channel. To get the latest videos, don't forget to enable all notifications.